Hey guys, it's week 113 and we are talking about what I guess we find comforting about not being Christian, or what we find liberating about being pagan. I'm going to try to make this video not as long, but to make a very long story short, I was not raised a specific faith. My mom is Protestant, my dad is God knows what. And so I tried to find my own faith about the time I was 13. And I did Christian, I studied Buddhism, I studied Hinduism, I studied Islam, I studied Judaism, I studied lots of random other pathways. Something for me that even though I wasn't raised as a faith per se, I find that even as an adult now, that you instill a lot of things in your children that are at the core of your being, of your faith. And that's true with my upbringing as well. There was a lot of fear and guilt, and it wasn't like, you know, oh, you're guilty of sin. It was never said in that way, but there's always this sense of like, if you're not doing exactly what others think that you should be doing, that in some way that it's shameful or wrong. And I struggled with that a lot throughout my upbringing into adolescence and into adulthood. And I carried a lot of that with me, even through my quote-unquote conversion. And I won't say that, you know, I'm very similar to Corvos in the fact that my faith is a lot more complex and nuanced than just being pagan or just being a witch. And I don't really use that term generally, mainly because I'm not a huge magic practitioner. I'm more of an herbal practitioner than anything else. But for me, letting go of that was a huge weight. I don't feel like I have to, that burden of feeling like you have to do exactly what's expected of you, and you have to be 100% all the time, and perfect, and not have any of these weaknesses publicly. That was a huge relief for me. And not being afraid, I mean, for a long time throughout my conversion, I was really afraid of, like, you know, what God would think of me, and what the ancestors thought of me, and how that affected my life, and whether I was failing them. And letting go of that was a huge liberation. And not having that dogmatic, like, these are the rules you have to follow, or else the divine will turn its back on you, is really liberating to me. And I tend to honor divinity that is a little more off-kilter. For instance, Kali, Sekhmet, Seth, those are all instrumental in my what I'll call my conversion period. And those are not generally divinity that people turn to that is warm and comforting, because they're generally not. And for me, it was the ability to become self-aware, and allow myself to work through those feelings without feeling shame and guilt, and like I wasn't being a good human being. So the ability to work through that anger, and work through, honestly, some really negative feelings about other people, and about how other people had treated me, and what I was going to do about that, and not just consistently like turn the other cheek per se. So for me, that's the most liberating thing about coming the other side, is the huge weight that's lifted off of you, of fear and guilt, and always feeling like you have to be at the top of your game, and like other people are judging you. Generally, paganism gives you the ability to do what feels comfortable to you. And something that my husband says frequently, because he's Wiccan, is do what you will and harm none, which doesn't necessarily apply to my practice, but that was something that was instrumental in getting me over that hump of constantly being afraid of all of the other things that come along with Abrahamic faiths. So I will see you guys next week when we talk about week 214. It's going to be an interesting adventure. See you guys.